So what that has actually allowed us to do is we're on track. I think this is manageable. And there are some things that we have been able to do. We have picked up greater share of 2 staff salaries. So what does that mean? Well, remember I told you that there was cost sharing between the church and the school? The school, if I gave you a presentation like this, the school is having challenges also. They're doing the exact same thing the church is doing. Their enrollments are down, and they're having to juggle and balance the books. Part of the balance is in the share, the cost share between salaries and facilities and things like that. Because of what we were, in terms of this situation here, what we have done is we've actually picked up some of the salaries that the school had previously paid for. So, Rick, I don't know if all yours, but a greater portion of yours is picked up now?
Yeah, about 3/4.
Okay, so we've changed that sliding dial in terms of what the cost share was. And one of the PLC staffers has been totally absorbed by the PLC. So we've, again, tried to say, look, we're all in this together. We're going to try and figure out a way that between all of those accounts on the left-hand side, we will be able to thrive. Not just survive, but we will be able to continue to thrive. Go ahead, Marianne.
I want to get a little bit of a sidebar with similar questions. Even though we have a reduction in pastors on staff, but the workload is still the same.
Yeah.
So the money that was being given as salary still needs to be obtained for replenishing new pastors, replacing, or even giving the present staff more support, whether it's through secretarial services or something to offload some of the workload that you're giving one pastor the workload of what 3 or 4 were doing in the past.
Right. Yeah, there's a reality there. I think there have been interesting comments around talking about the PLC staff, and I'll talk about that later. But I think Mario is on track. Is that just because we don't have 3 pastors doesn't mean that we don't still have the same needs as a congregation. I think we do. And so that support staff in the PLC actually becomes even that much more critical to you, because this guy needs somebody to be checking his 6 and making sure that he's at the right place, that he knows what's going on, and that the right ministry leads are aware of the kind of things that he can no longer do. He can't be at everybody's bedside, or else we're going to burn out this pastor right here. So your point is well made, is that
so it's a temporary cost.
It is.
We still need to reapply that.
That's a good point. This is a temporary, this is adjusting to what we have in terms of circumstances. If tomorrow we decided and were able to call a pastor, we would have to find that pastor's salary within this mix, which means the whole thing would have to be adjusted and changed. So, excellent point, Mario. Yeah, very good point. And that's what we do. I mean, that's why you voted us in, and that's why, you pay salaries, is for people to do this kind of thing on a day-to-day basis. And that's exactly what we do as a council, and what Rick does as our business manager and consult with Pastor Freeborn. Within the church budget, we picked up salary. We have hired Pastor Peterson for a quarter time. And then this is another interesting one. Glory Day is now supporting Glory Day Lutheran School for critical requirements. What does that mean? Well, I think there's some stuff going on in the kitchen where we have to pay for something dealing with the stove and the hood associated with that. The school, as I said, isn't as much of a crunch as we are, but we're able to support that now. And I find that very interesting, because for years and years and years, it was the other way around. It was like, we would be, at any given time, when I first got here, well, you know that, the church would owe the school $20,000 from year to year. We would just move that forward and say, hey, yeah, we'll pay you back someday. But we did. I think it was like in, I want to say 2002, 2003, as a council, we finally said, enough is enough. We need to pay for ourselves. And so we built the budget so that we didn't have to rely on the school as much as we had in the past. So we had, I want to say about 5 years, 6 years worth of There might have been monies transferred occasionally, but at the end of the year, we didn't owe the school anything.
Right.
This is the first year, oh, I get it. This is the first year where we have actually been able to help the school out. I mean, I'm talking about 12 grand or thereabouts, it's something like that. 16, there you go, $16,000.
Heating and air conditioning unit.
Right, so, and there's some other items that we're helping them out in. So, you know, where one door is closed, the window is open, or however that expression goes, this is the circumstance that we're in right now. And so, what does that say to me? That says to me that God is still watching out for us, that He is still in our land. Kind of like, you know, the Israelites, when they moved from place to place, they always wondered, well, did He follow us or not? Is He still with us or not? And we don't need to worry about that. I feel confident that God is providing for us what we need. And this is the kind of stuff that's there's too much hands-on in there that allows us to do these kind of things. When the school needs, all of a sudden the church is able to provide. That's interesting. I find that very interesting. So that's kind of, you know, where we're at on the budget. And at any given time, again, I drive Rick crazy because I ask him all of these questions, and he says, well, he starts off and says, well, it depends. That's probably the main thing that Rick says, well, it depends. It does depend on a lot of different things, as you can see. It's not just, you know, cut and dry. There are so many variables in there, and a lot of this depends. But that's the kind of thing that actively we're managing as your leadership. Any questions on that? And so what does our budget actually look like? I think I mentioned it earlier. For 2010, it was a $706,000 church budget, of which 30% was paid for by the school, or was credited to the school in terms of their share of operating costs and things like that. That's a pretty sizable budget. Pretty sizable. But I think we're on track. I'll talk to another thing here, what I call a relief valve. We have several relief valves built into the budget. Ones that I don't like, but are necessary. One of the relief valves is Synod benevolence. And we took a big hit on that last year because we were not able to fulfill our commitment. Fancy that. Just like you know, the congregation, some of us had a difficult time fulfilling commitments. We also had a difficult time fulfilling our commitment to the Synod. So we were not able to give the Synod everything that we had thought we would be able to do. This year, we have a budgeted item. We feel confident at this point that we will be able to meet our commitment. But we have been withholding that. And I want to be clear, I want to make sure that if somebody hears the word withholding Synod benevolence, that they know it's not because we're mad at Synod. It's because we are just making sure, like everybody did up until December, we want to make sure we got enough money to pay the bills. The primary emphasis, making sure that, you know, we can pay a salary, we can keep the lights on, pay the mortgage, et cetera, et cetera. And so we have used the Synod benevolence as a relief, for better or for worse. But as it stands right now, we feel confident that we'll be able to make that benevolence as we had in the budget, as it was budgeted for this year. Is it enough? I don't think so. But it is what it is because of our circumstances. Can we make different priorities and different changes? I suppose we could. As a congregation, we would need to decide something like that. I wouldn't feel comfortable as a council telling you that all of a sudden we're going to close a facility or we're going to get rid of a salary, or, you know, we're very careful about trying to keep people, our people, many of whom are congregation members, you know, keep their heads above water also. So, I mean, we have some things we need to balance here. And so anyway, for what it's worth, that's the story on the Synod benevolence as it relates to the budget. So I feel real good about this budget. It's going to be managed, obviously, actively